Let's start our rocket ship drawing by first deleting our avatar and then selecting the top-down view from the View toolbar at the top of the page. We're going to get our polygon tool, which allows us to draw figures with multiple sides, and move into our area above the axis line. You can see in the bottom right corner it defines the number of sides you have depending on what shape you want. We're going to stick with 5, so we're going to click from the origin point and start to move up and around so that the top of the pentagon is on the green axis. If your pentagon does not line up, you can press the Control key and you will flip the pentagon upside down until you have the peak going up the green axis. We're going to define the distance of the pentagon as 10 feet, so I'll enter 10 feet as the interior radius, and then I'll back out so that I can see the entire pentagon. This will form the beginning of our rocket fin. Using our straight line tool, we'll come straight down from the center of the pentagon for a total of 25 feet. We'll then connect the edges carefully to each side of the tail section. The tail section profile completed. We will delete the interior line here and select this part of the fin and push-pull up for 30 feet. Make sure you do not select the inside of the pentagon, just the fin up for 30 feet. Now the tail fins have to be angled in towards the center of the rocket. To do so, we're going to take our move tool, move to the point at the top of the triangle, click once so you can move around, and move back along the green axis until you snap back to the back of the triangle on the midpoint along the green axis like you can see. Then remove the sections of the tail so that you're left with just this one part of the tail fin. We're now going to take a top-down view again, and what we would like to do is we would like to take this tail fin and rotate it around so that we have one fin for each side of the pentagon. Let's double click, triple click, so that the entire object selects. We want to duplicate this entire object around in a circle. We can do this with the rotate tool. We want to first move in and make sure we select the center of the axis where the origin point lies. Click one time and let go so you can start to move around. And now let's go and click the edge of the end point next to the end of the fin. I'm going to press the Control key and you'll see that a plus sign pops up next to the rotate tool. I will then, as I rotate it around, you'll see it will be copied, and I could rotate it around until I snap to the point of the edge here, which is kind of difficult. So instead, we can also just enter the number we want here, and if you look in the bottom right hand corner, it'll be at distance of 72, and that will align us directly to the spot. Now we also need 3 more of these, so if we don't click anything else immediately after entering 72 for the degree of the rotation, let's enter x4 for times 4, and it'll give us 4 total wings or fins all the way around with us only having to select one. Rotate to the bottom of the rocket and you can see how the fins aren't all shaded in. So let's take our pencil tool and just kind of go along the bottom of each fin to make sure they're shaded in and closed. If you like, you can delete the lines in the center, completing the base section of our tail fin. With the lines deleted, we will make this entire tail section a group by dragging a box over the entire thing, right-clicking, and making a group. This part will also color the tail section. I'm going to use a blue. You could use whatever color you want. And because we're coloring the group, it'll all color at one time a nice blue as you see there. To start our rocket body, we will turn upside down to the bottom of the fins and use our circle tool again from the origin point, dragging out just past just past the fins for a distance of 15 feet. Enter. You can see now that SketchUp is flickering where the circle sits on top of the other group because there's two faces sitting directly on top of one another and it does not know which one to display. We'll fix this in a moment by taking our push-pull tool and moving up through the fins for a distance of 40 feet. You can see our cylinder of our rocket now starting to take shape. Before we come up again, we're going to press the control key with the push-pull tool, which will give us a little plus sign, then continue to move up slightly, and you'll see that there's a line going through the rocket now, which is going to denote where our nose cone starts. We'll bring this up as well for a distance of 20 feet. Enter. Now the nose cone doesn't really look like a nose cone yet. What we have to do to it is shrink it in on itself. So we'll press and select the top face of the cylinder. And then we'll get our scale tool by pressing the S button or clicking this icon. And now, instead of just grabbing and scaling down to one side, if we hold the control button, we can actually scale in from all the sides the entire way, leaving just a little bit of space for the top of the nose cone, which gives us the cone towards the top. The rocket is a little bit wider than we would like it to be, so we'll also stretch it out with the scale tool after selecting the entire rocket, getting our scale tool, and moving straight up until our rocket looks more stretched out. We'll use a distance of 6. You now see the rocket is a lot more streamlined and sleek, and we can go ahead and color the body of it, or the fuselage. I'll use a nice bright red. And your basic rocket is completed at this point. Now let's add a custom feature of a window through the center of the rocket. Let's click on the front view so that we can see the rocket directly ahead. We're also going to switch the camera view up top from perspective to parallel projection, which gives us just a slightly flatter image of the rocket itself, a pure two-dimensional view. On the left-hand side, we're going to grab a circle, and we want to make a circle that can fit inside of the rocket, so it's not going to be very big. Zoom in and make sure you're flat, and we'll make it 6 feet. Enter. Now you can orbit around and push-pull the circle out either way. Doesn't matter what size, as long as it goes through each side of the rocket. What we're going to do is we're going to move the cylinder inside of the rocket. So once again, let's press our front view. I'm going to triple click the circle so that every part of it selects the entire cylinder. And I'm going to get nice and close and drag from my center point directly in the middle and just approximate where your midpoint is. You'll now notice that the cylinder goes directly through the rocket. What we want to do now is to right click our cylinder and tell it to intersect faces with the model. What this does now, this makes this rod solid all the way through to the other side. With our eraser tool, let's erase the faces, and you'll notice you're left with the circle, but you also have, instead of being flat, it's curved all the way through. Let's take our transparent tool, or translucent, and give our Rocket Man a place to see out of. With the hole in the rocket completed, our basic rocket is now completed, and the last thing we'll do is we'll make the entire rocket a group so that it all moves in one piece. We can also delete our axis lines So just our rocket shows.